Hello and good evening, everybody, and welcome to a special one-off Psgl community event. And we are going to go into our time machine and delve back 30 years into the past to one of F1's iconic moments here at the Circuit de Monaco, where Ayrton Senna set one of the greatest qualifying laps in the history of the sport, beating the great Alain Prost by over 1.4 seconds to take pole position with a lap that will stand the test of time. Now, we're just waiting for the lobby to fill up for the time being. So let's have a quick look at the Circuit de Monaco. And hopefully my voice is not drowned out by the sound of the V6 Turbo Honda, which compared to the Honda of today was an absolute beast. So let's get the track guide up and running here. Here we're then coming out of the exit of Rascasse. We will head out onto the main start-finish straight for a lap of Monaco. For tonight's session, there's not going to be a race. It's going to be a full qualifying session with Parc Fermé off, just as it was back in the 80s. Parc Fermé did not become a thing until the early 2000s in Formula 1. So back then, you could set up the car as much as you like between qualifying and the race, which was quite unique. So through Casino Square we go then, and then on the rundown to the end of Sector 1, and then the slowest corner in Formula 1 coming up here, and that is going to be the hairpin, which is such a hard corner to get right in terms of the apex. Got to slow right down, and even harder in these older cars, which have so much less downforce, so much power in the back, very snaky, especially in the rear, because of that immense power from the turbo engine at the back. The McLaren MP4 then will be the car the drivers will be using for tonight's event. One of the most dominant cars in the history of Formula 1. It won 15 out of 16 races in the 1988 season, and it would have been a clean sweep if Ayrton Senna had not been taken out by a back marker at the 1988 Italian Grand Prix. Compared to the normally aspirated cars of the time, the MP44 was in a class of its own. So here we are then, coming up to the end of the lap here at Monaco. And this is the immense challenge awaiting the drivers here tonight. So, not going to be joined by my normal commentary partner, because I felt he deserved the night off. So we're just waiting for the qualifying session to begin here. So I'm just going to check up on the lobby, see what's going on. I think we're going to need one of the reserves, because it looks like we've lost one of our people. So we've got 19 drivers. So a warm welcome to everybody who has joined the chat so far. Not expecting quite as many people to watch this as previous Psgl F1 races. It's quite a unique event. But, so what we're going to have here is a full quality session. We will start with 20 drivers. We will then lose 5 in Q1. And then we will lose another 5 in Q2. And then we'll have a top 10 shootout to decide who gets the Psgl Ayrton Senna trophy at the end of the night. So it should be about an hour's worth of on-track action for you guys tonight. So one of the shortest tracks in Formula 1. Now, of course, the track which they'll be driving the 1988 McLaren MP44 tonight is actually quite different to the track that Senna, Prost, Mansell and the rest drove back in the day. If you look at onboard footage of Monaco from back then, it's striking how much wider some of the corners are, such as Rascasse and the swimming pool section and places like that. So it was possible to sort of overtake still back then to a degree. It was still a mighty challenge to overtake back then, but it wasn't quite as impossible as it seems to be today. So we're just waiting for one more driver, and then hopefully we'll have our full complement of 20. So just bear with me. Going to try and assist in inviting him in. Now, hopefully Monaco will be, in terms of the full qualifying, hopefully we won't have any problems with the game. Haven't actually tried a full quali online yet, so this could be a disaster, but hopefully not. And already some drivers making themselves known that it's going to be a very difficult challenge, and they might not even get one lap done. So let's just going to check on it because I am running this event. So apologies, my commentary is a bit broken up until we begin because I'm just making sure everyone's in. Okay, just gonna. I think Joel is wanting. Well, it looks like we're about to go then and start this qualifying session. So there's a real mixture of drivers here for this session tonight. A mixture of F1, F2, F3, F4, F7, F5, F6, and Formula Performance drivers here today. So it should be quite a mixture. Here we are then. We are about to go then. I think. Yeah, it looks like we've got our full 20 then. Monaco. Always a challenge for everybody. Yeah, so it looks like TTG Po just joined. So that's good. Right then, let's get going to the action then. This Monaco circuit. Clear weather. Parc Fermé will be off, so they can use as many setup changes as they like throughout the sessions today. As I say, Parc Fermé was not introduced until the 2003 Formula 1 season, so that will certainly change up the strategy. Because normally you have to stick one setup and off you go, but now, just like the 1980s, they'll be able to do as much as they like. I mean, can you imagine these days being able to do all the setup you like in qualifying, all the setup you want in the races? I mean, I wonder what effect that would have on the championship if that was possible. I think in a way it is a good thing that there is Parc Fermé today because it does mean, it does give the smaller teams a bit more of a chance to compete with the teams who have a bit more R&D and are a bit more flexible in terms of, getting the best out of their car, especially the higher budgets. So in terms of the grid size, Human Fish is asking, well, the grid size was bigger than 20, that's for sure. I mean, there were sometimes grids as high as 26 and 28 cars back in this era of Formula One. And, a lot of privateer teams, on very small budgets, something which, was pretty much wiped out by the end of the 20th century. You just can't get privateer teams anymore. These plucky teams like Minardi, Simtech, LaRousse, other teams like that, which used to spend most of their time at the back of the grid. So 20 cars then for the first Q1. So it's going to be a very busy, difficult to get much space out there. Now, obviously this particular engine is louder than the V6s we get today, so I'm not sure how my voice is going to come across on the onboards. But let's go on board with Abiodun then. Psgl F1 driver. So we head towards the chicane. Strict corner cutting on as well, so expect to see quite a few invalidations, I would say. And yes, I'm okay, Blizzard. Great race yesterday in the other league, which I won't mention. No game sounds. Oh, don't tell me something's gone wrong again. And there you go. I don't know why that's happened for my last two streams. I need to figure out or reinstall OBS or something like that. So here we go then. The glorious sound of the V6 turbo Honda engine, which the success that Honda had in the late 80s and early 90s with McLaren, it was an unbeatable combination. It's sad that they were never able to sort of get that combination working when they teamed up the last few seasons. It's a real shame, really, because if they had been able to get it to work, then it would have probably put McLaren back top. Yellow's in Sector 1, and Ashbest, I don't know if he's waiting for cars to go by or he's had an incident. If full damage is on, I think he's waiting for cars to get by. He's on his outlap, so let's go with Jayarchitects then, who appears to be the first man out on track at the moment. Oof, really tight. I mean, the thing is, given that there was nowhere near as much downforce on these cars, and yet the power from the back of it. I mean, these had 1200 brake horsepower. Today's Formula 1 cars, somewhere between 800 to 900. Now, the engines of today actually do draw out more power. That's why the straight line speeds and the actual, sheer slipstream effects that you get following one of these cars is so immense. And as an early pace then, a 1:26.84. Now, the real life pole position time for Ayrton Senna back in 1998 was a 1:23.994, but because of the game, I was never expecting the times to be that low. It's always going to be several seconds faster than that. So it's not particularly realistic in terms of the times for this car, but that's not to complain. So I think in terms of the Q3 pole we'll get later, I think it will be somewhere in the low 19s as well. I'm sure I'll say that word at some point, Aaron, because you certainly have to really put the steering input into this car because, and don't forget, it's a manual, non-flappy gearbox. I mean, can you imagine, going around a circuit at these sort of speeds and having to do, downshifts, with, with a full manual gearbox? It wasn't on the steering wheel. That technology was. Oh, and it looks like another car ahead has lost it. But he'll get plenty of time to get back to the pits and do another run. So it's a 1:20.197 Jayarchitects so far. Who else is out there? Let's have a look at Ashbest then. He's heading through Casino Square, heading towards the end of Sector 1. And there's your very high-tech looking telemetry. No ERS battery, no DRS. Oh, and Ashbest taps the wall. And we've got a retirement already, and that is Lewis. So he will be more than likely out of the session now. He's in 15th at the moment. But he, unfortunately, if you retire in Q1, you're more than likely going to go out of the session if other people set their time. So we'll continue on with Ashbest. That tap on the wall would have damaged his wing, perhaps, or maybe he got away with it. So into the chicane he goes then. I love the retro speedo. It's great compared to all the gizmos you get. More yellows, and it looks like more people are struggling with this track. Ashbest, oh, and that could have been a corner cut just then. He's going to peel off into pits. So quite a few of these drivers struggling a little bit with the cars. It's Lambo's. It's a 1:20.130. Let's see if Ashbest will carry on. Yep, he is indeed. This doesn't look like a particularly good time. But given that the tyre wear is non-existent on these cars, he'll be able to go for a second run. And it's a 1:22.386. But he obviously made quite a few mistakes on that lap, so that's obviously not representative of Ashbest's true pace. MrGrumpy back in the pits after 1:21.848. FlyingFrome on a 1:20.364, attempting to go faster. But I mean just look at the way these cockpits, how open they are compared to today's cars, and that's even without the halo that they had this year. I mean, yeah, 1200 brake horsepower. So much power behind the car, not much in the way of safety. And it's little wonder that these drivers often went out there knowing that death could be very close to them. And unfortunately, in the case of Ayrton Senna, 6 years after 1998, he did tragically lose his life at Imola, which was unfortunately one of my earliest F1 memories. The 94 season was the first season I watched in Formula 1. And that was one of the first races I saw, was Imola. And I still remember it now, even though I was very young back then. But yeah, very sad, Murray Walker airing the news live. It was, yeah, I still remember it now. But let's focus on the positive and, what the driver Ayrton Senna was, especially in qualifying sessions. For the longest time until Michael Schumacher came along, he had the pole position record by a mile. 65 pole positions Ayrton Senna had. Michael Schumacher broke the record. Then, of course, Lewis Hamilton broke that record. And, Lewis Hamilton may set a pole position record that will be almost impossible to beat. He could easily be the first to reach triple figures for pole position, and maybe even race wins as well. Abidin, the first then, into the 19s with a 1:19.666 as another car slams into the wall, it seems. Up ahead. Oh, and there was a car. Oh, there was a car there, and Abidin slammed into him. It's a good thing he's already set a good time. Who is that spun round there? Don't know who that is. It is CCBRAIN with that splendid German helmet. So CCBRAIN returns to the pits, currently only 12th position, but in the safe zone. So just a reminder, the bottom 5 will be knocked out of this session. Lewis will 100% be one of them. So this qualifying session back in 1998. Now, contrary to popular belief, it wasn't Senna's last flying lap that got him the pole position. It was actually in the middle of Q2. They had 2 one-hour qualifying sessions back then, and Ayrton Senna set that time in the middle of the section. But when he spoke about the lap afterwards, he described it as almost an out-of-body experience, and he felt like he could never reach that level again. So, in his own words, he considered it to be the very peak of his powers in terms of, you know, a single lap. But, you know, the onboard cameras were only in their infancy back then, so there isn't actually any real footage of that lap. So when you see like the Senna documentary and they show footage that isn't from 1988, there isn't actually any real footage of that lap in existence, because not all the cars had onboards, which we really take for granted these days. Here comes FlyingFrome then. Is he going to set a faster time? Let's see then. And no, definitely not with a 127. Anyone else on a lap at the moment? So give us your predictions for the cutoff time. At the moment, a 121.914 is CSR Leon, so he's in danger of being eliminated. So Ashbest has got to get a bit of work on to get out of that safe zone. Ponish Town has also retired, so he is out of Q1 for sure. A few more retirements, and the bottom 5 could be quite sewn up here. But, you know, quite a gulf in terms of the gap so far, although very close to in the top 2. Blizzard responding to Ayrton early on in Q1, so just under a tenth of a second behind. So 119.666, but this is Q1, of course. The key thing is to get into the top 15 and then build yourself up the session. Bit of drifting there from Blizzard, although I think that was a bit of lag, to be honest. That looked very strange indeed. FlyingFrome retires and he's in 15th. So if Leon or Ashbest or JRAYBAY can find a bit more time, they're going to have to find a considerable amount of time though, it has to be said. Otherwise FlyingFrome will be knocked out of Q1. So your current top 5 then is Ayrton, Blizzard, Lambo, Jayarchitects and F1 Sophie, all within a second of each other. And then we've got Chopper, Ho, Liquor Blocks, AMS and Drew of F7 making up the top 10. More yellows in Sector 2. Looks like someone has, yeah, someone's gone across. I think that was just cutting the chicane to get back to the pits. So, just under 7 minutes of this session to go then. FlyingFrome on the cutoff point at the moment. But the likes of CCBRAIN, Spaniard and Zexa may be in danger. And Ashbest retires. Ashbest retires from the session. And that is a shock elimination here. Early on, former Psgl F1 champion is out of the Psgl Senna trophy here. So we've had 4 retirements from quali so far. Well, that is definitely a surprise. It's something I did not expect to see. So CCBRAIN and JRAYBAY, the focus is really on them. They've got to find some more time to get out of Q1. So let's go on board with CCBRAIN then, as we go on the run off to the tunnel. Oh, massive understeer from CCBRAIN. There's yellows in Sector 3, but we're going to continue on with CCBRAIN. He's got to find something like 1.2 seconds. Although it says FlyingFrome is only, oh wait a minute, is that the time, is that the split time for getting out of Q1? I haven't actually done a full quali session before, so is FlyingFrome actually, I'm not sure. So, no, I mean it can't be the leader time, because that wouldn't make sense. He would be in the top 10. So that might be a little bit of a glitch of the screen there. So CCBRAIN crosses the line. It's a 120.714, but I think he might have invalidated, because he hasn't moved up the board at all. So Grumpy retires from the session, and FlyingFrome has been promoted. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with the timing screens there. So your fastest lap then a 1:19.666. So FlyingFrome has a 1:23.64. So technically he should be way up there, unless that's an invalidated lap, of course. I'm not going to check at the moment. So 5 drivers have had their sessions ended or in the pits, or they have. And a 5-place grid penalty for liquor blocks, although that's not going to matter because there's not going to be a race tonight. What on earth is going on here? What on earth is going on here? Oh my goodness. That's Chopper and a couple of other... Oh, and another car just that's... Oh dear, CCBRAIN did not see that coming. And well, death being risked here. CCBRAIN out of the session. Well, some of these drivers are really struggling with the handling of this 1988 McLaren, which compared to its predecessors 30 years later are such different cars. It's such an adjustment you have to make from these cars, because you just can't, you know, push like you can in a 2018 car. You have to really balance the throttle management, you know, the brake bias, everything. There's so much more to think about in a way, because this car will kill you if you put a foot wrong. So Lambo in third at the moment, so that pretty much sews up the bottom 5, unless, you know, JRAYBAY has got to try and get out of the bottom 5 at the moment. A 1:22.497 is not good enough for the F3 driver at the moment. Well, I'm hoping that the time between sort themselves out, because, you know, the way I figure it, FlyingFrome shouldn't be 14th. He should be further up the board. Maybe if I switch off the HUD, actually, maybe it will come back. Nope, obviously not. Yeah, onto the podium, referring maybe to a bit of Schumacher and Rosberg antics at Monaco, respectively, where they just parked the car in Corsa yellow and slowed everyone down. Must be a German thing to do that, clearly. So JRAYBAY then, oh, tapping the wall like a pinball machine, trying to find a bit more time. He's got to find a lot more time to get into the top 15. Advantage is, some of the drivers ahead of him can't respond if he does. JRAYBAY crosses the line. It's good enough for 8th. That's a good lap. Now the focus, our attention now switches to Spaniard. Can Spaniard get out of Q1? So Spaniard crosses the line. It's no improvement. Still has time. Yellow's in Sector 2 and Sector 3. I wonder if there's any more shenanigans going on. There's quite a lot of drivers in the pit lane at the moment. Still going out there. AMS with that nice Lotus colouring here. Oh, look at the big snap of oversteer for the car ahead. I'm not sure who that was. Oh, Spaniard. We just switched to him and he's lost the back. And that may be the end of his session, because he's not going to be able to get back in time and put on another wing. I think that may be the end of Spaniard's session. He will be eliminated from Q1, along with CCBRAIN, Ashbest, Ponysttown and Lewis. So the top 15 looking like they are safe now, but look how close the top 3 is. Less than a tenth of a second between Abiodun, Lambo and Blizzard. If it's as close as that in the top 10 shootout, it's going to be an awesome watch. But yeah, Spaniard going well in Formula 5, and he's actually going to bravely go for another lap. Well, you got to give him credit. That's a lot of guts to do that, but he's missing half his wing. His downforce is going to be absolutely awful, and I really doubt he's going to be... Yep, that was never going to work, so that's the end of his session. Let's see if there's anyone else out there. What about Lambo? Is Lambo trying to improve here? Nope, he has decided to turn the engine down and return to the pits. Anyone else trying to improve, just to lay down a little marker? Chopper has lost half his wing as well. Actually, I don't know if you retire in Q1, you get to run again in Q2. I actually don't know if that's the case. I mean, in real life, if you blew up your car, you would do, but they may have just retired in the pits perhaps, so hopefully we will have 15 drivers for the next session. Maybe Spaniard will get through if someone like FlyingFrome or Grumpy crash. So maybe that's why FlyingFrome is so low down the board, because he actually crashed to retire, not retired in the pits. Maybe the same for Grumpy as well. So because FlyingFrome set a faster time, maybe that's why he's above Grumpy in terms of the retirements. Here comes Chopper then. Is Chopper going to return to pits? Yes, he does. Very slow pit entry there. Liquid box over. So it looks like AMS is going to finish off our Q1 as the last of the drivers return to the pits. So quite an interesting Q1 then, a 19.666 by Abudin, your fastest time in Q1. As we finish the first third of this Psgl Senna trophy. Just thought I'd mention, incidentally, Psgl is on a mid-season break at the moment. Psgl F1 will return 2 weeks today, same time at 8 o'clock, for the French Grand Prix, which should be very interesting as it's a new track for pretty much everybody. In fact, I don't think Psgl has ever had a French Grand Prix, because I think by the time F1 2010 came out, I think Monaco was already off the calendar, which was the former venue of the French Grand Prix. So it'll be the first ever Psgl F1 French Grand Prix, so that should be great. In terms of the set of tyres, I think you still get 4 sets of tyres onto the podium, but they're all one dry compound. There's no actual different compounds, they're just all dry tyres, but the tyre wear on them, you know, it's non-existent really. They don't really wear much. I mean, Monaco's a low degrading circuit anyway. So then, your Q1 result: Abudin, Lambo, Blizzard, Jayarchitects and AMS are your top 5. And then in the cut-off area, you got Grumpy, FlyingFrome, just so. Your elimination: Spaniard, CCBRAIN, Ashbest, Ponitown and Lewis. So the top 15 going through to Q2. Let's hope this loads okay. So like Abudin, Lambo and Blizzard in particular, doing a really good job with this classic car so far. Quite a significant gap to like the Jayarchitects and AMS. But now we go into Q2. There'll be more space for the drivers to work with, so that will allow them to push a little bit more. Because, you know, Q1 is all about just safely getting through with a decent lap to Q2. That's exactly what they did. And yes, as I suspected, because FlyingFrome and Grumpy crashed in Q1, they will not take part in Q2. So we only have 13 drivers then for Q2. So that's unfortunate for FlyingFrome and MrGrumpy. So then 13 drivers then will fight for the honour of getting through to Q3. So quite some notable names then out in Q1. The likes of Ashbest, a former Psgl F1 champion, as is MrGrumpy. FlyingFrome, won F3 last season. So some notable eliminations. CCBRAIN as well, another Psgl F1 driver. Just goes to show, no matter what year it is, be it 1988 or 2018, this track still offers an immense challenge. So then, who's your money then on to get knocked out of Q2? In fact, if anything, there's more pressure, because there's actually only 3 drivers who can get knocked out of Q2 here. So the bottom 3 of this particular session will be knocked out, and the top 10 will go on to the top 10 shootout to race for the honour of getting pole position and the Psgl Senna trophy. So we should be able to see a few more onboards with less drivers to keep an eye on. So I think I'm going to be quite interested to see. Abudin set the fastest time of Q1, so I'm going to be very interested to see how he handles the onboard lap. I think Giroux of F7, he did a pretty good job to get into Q2, you know, beating some established names to get there. So very nice work from him. And then Lambo and Blizzard, they were Abudin's closest challengers in Q1. Well, I think FlyingFrome will be getting the first plane out of Monte Carlo. So here comes Abudin then. Slightly taps the wall. Oh, man, putting the power down the car, stepping out, and Abudin had to correct it. So that's not going to help his time then. Through Casino Square we go. Had to slow down considerably actually. Yellow's in sector 3, but that's probably just a slow down for a car. Be quite embarrassing to retire on your out lap. So no cars in the pits, everybody's out for a flying lap. We'll carry on with Abiodun through the hairpin, the slowest corner in Formula 1. It was back then, it is today. Abiodun really struggling with the back end of the car. Oh, and Abiodun hits the wall, loose half his wing. And that is not a good start to his session. So we're going to switch to, let's have a look for Blizzard actually. Abiodun making a poor start to Q2. But he's still got another 12 minutes to get back to the pits. And put the car on, just get a fantastic shot off the hairpin. Pretty much the same camera shot they used today. Of course, Ayrton Senna, a 6-time winner of the Monaco Grand Prix. A record that may not ever be beaten. I mean, even Lewis Hamilton is nowhere near getting 6 victories here. Michael Schumacher had 5 victories here. Graham Hill had 5 victories here as well. And, I mean, his son Damon was very, very unlucky. Never to win here. He had an engine failure here in '96. At TGG Post, so it's a 1:19.928. That's a 3/10 off the fastest time of Q1. But here comes Blizzard then, heading into Raskas. And a 1:19.922 from Jayarchitects. So I mean, Jayarchitects was pretty strong Q1. Here comes Blizzard then, around the final corner then. Putting the power down of this 1200 brake horsepower Honda engine. What's it going to be? Lambo at 19.281. And Blizzard has invalidated by the looks of it. Quite easy to do here, especially the chicane. So Lambo going nearly 4/10 faster. And CSR Leon has retired from the session. He's retired in the run-up to Casino Squares. He must have lost complete control of the car. So that is one elimination from Q2. So that means, in effect, there's only 2 places left for the knockout zone. So another Psgl F1 driver heading into the deathly embrace of these Monaco walls, wrenching the steering wheel a little bit too much in the run-up to Casino Square. And Leon's left the session. So hopefully that won't cause the lobby to collapse. But, you know, I guess it fell on deaf ears, don't leave the session. Because we've never done a full quali session in Psgl in this game, at least in an official sense. So I don't know how stable it's going to be, but we shall see. Blizzard on another run. Oh, brilliant run through the swimming pool section, then into Raskas. Did he invalidate this time? Let's see then. Blizzard heading for the line. Can he respond to Lambo's time, or at least put a time on the board? Here comes Blizzard. And it's a 1:19.327. That is close between the top 2. 0.46 of a second. So let's focus on the drivers trying to get out of the top 10. Here comes F1 Sophie, better known as Robot Sophie. Looked like a good... Oh, goes really deep at Raskas. Heading out into... to finish this lap. Is she getting out? Yes, she is. F7. Or P7, rather. Got F7 on the brain for some reason. 1.3 seconds off the pace, but good enough for Q3 at the moment. I think even getting into Q3 would be a great achievement for all the drivers who are here. But Abiodun, the driver who set the fastest lap of Q1, had a real nightmare. So went back to the pits, made some adjustments to the setup. Now, what can Abiodun now do? Can he get into Q3? I think, yeah. I mean, if anyone's watching, you may as well leave the session now rather than at the end. If you have been eliminated already. Not the host, of course. Grumpy, please stay. So, at the moment, it is Zexa, Giroux and Abiodun in the drop zone. Because if you finish 11th, 12th and 13th, you will still get knocked out even though Leon has retired. So they have to find some time. Abiodun then, heading into the chicane. That may have been where he invalidated the previous time. So building up the speed as we head into the swimming pool section. This looks like, oh, Abiodun getting all out of shape and had to slam on the brakes, so he would have been heading into the wall. This has not been a good session for Abiodun so far. He would have lost at least half a second there, but can he at least get into the top 10? Abiodun sliding all over the place, crosses the line. It's good enough for 8th position at the moment, but he is way off his pace from Q1. He was in the 19s in Q1. He's over a second off his Q1 pace. So whatever's happened, maybe the temperature's gone up or something like that. It's just not working for Aberdeen at the moment. So I have to get back to pits and have a think about it. And Blizzard's now set at 1:19.134, so we're nearly on the verge of the 1-minute 18s. So that is blistering pace from Blizzard. He's doing lap after lap, and it's a 1:18.929 from Blizzard. Well, Ayrton Senna set his fastest time in the real Q2 when there was 2 qualifying sessions, and Blizzard now laying down marker to the rest with that time. So the first time into the 1:18.929. I really hope that whoever gets pole position records their lap time. I'm actually going to remind them of that as we carry on with Blizzard. Just over 6.5 minutes of the session to go. Right, reminder sent. Oh, the car out of the way at the moment. So at the moment then, JRAYBAY, Zexa and Giroux in the knockout zone. So JRAYBAY now following a McLaren ahead and coming back into the pits. Needs to find half a second to get out of this Q2. The STL reporting pushed a bit too hard in Q1 and lost control of the car and hit the wall. So that is unlucky, but you know, it only takes a split second like that to lose control of the car. So Lambo and Jayarchitects, I wonder if they'll come out again. I think those in the 19s are probably safe, and I reckon Sophie might be safe as well. So really, it's 7th position down. May not be, they may have to come out again. And here is one of them, SFR Chopper. And I see the likes of Caplo have joined. Good to see you. So here is Chopper on a 1:25.80 at the moment, going through the hairpin. Oof, goes really deep. Nearly hit the wall on the right hand side. Really cuts the curve there. Maybe an invalidation. Now, of course, the 1998 Monaco Grand Prix is one of 2 very dramatic stories, of course. The qualifying session, as you know, Senna set that time, which absolutely demolished the opposition. Even Alain Prost, who was in the same all-conquering McLaren MP44. Ayrton Senna then went on to dominate the Monaco Grand Prix, and as he was approaching the end of the race, he crashed and threw away a certain victory. He was over 30 seconds ahead of Prost at that point, and he was so distraught, he simply disappeared and went to his hotel, and the McLaren team didn't see him until hours after the race when they were packing up to leave the circuit. That's how much it meant to him to lose that race the way he did. And you know, Monaco also in 1984 was the scene of, you know, Ayrton Senna's breakout performance in a Tolman, where he nearly won the race until the race in very heavy conditions was called off, with Alain Prost frantically waving at the race stewards to call off the race, with Senna rapidly closing. However, the interesting thing about that, although it seems like Ayrton Senna was denied a victory there, according to the Tolman engineers of the time, his suspension was actually about to collapse, which would have caused a serious accident. So in a way, it was a good thing they called off the race, because a few more laps from there, Senna's Tolman suspension would have failed, and he would have, you know, potentially had a career-ending injury. Because back then, Monaco was much more unforgiving than it is today, because they didn't have quite as good safety in terms of the barriers. You know, massive accidents you could have here. So at the moment then, Blizzard with a 1:18.827, edging down that time. He'll be hoping, though, he hasn't used up his best performance in Q2, because you don't get any prizes for finishing top of Q2, although it is a nice thing to get. 0.8 of a second faster then. As SFR Chopper sets a very respectable 1:19.494. So the focus then is on the likes of Zexa, JRAYBAY and Giroux, who are looking to get out of this session. The Giroux will be the first to finish. Just over 2 minutes of the session to go then, of Q2. It's been a fascinating watch, watching these Psgl drivers who are so used to these 2018 cars trying to handle this monstrous MP44. One of McLaren's greatest cars. And what they would kill for a car, the equivalent car in terms of dominance today. You know, the future doesn't look good for McLaren at the moment. But hopefully they, along with Williams, can find some more performance in 2019 with, you know, brand new drivers. With Fernando Alonso, of course, leaving the sport. So here comes Giroud then, first of the bottom three. Can Giroud then get over the line and get out of Q2? Giroud heads for the line. Doesn't seem to improve. Let's go to JRAYBAY. JRAYBAY of F3. And Poe has been disqualified. What on earth's happened there? He's made a mistake when he was already in the top 10. And Poe is out of Q3. Here comes JRAYBAY. Can JRAY get into the top 10? Because at the moment it's a top 9 shootout. No, he can't improve. And Zexa has crashed into the wall. Just in the swimming pool section. So Zexa and TTG Poe are definitely out of this session now. And Giroud has got into the top 9. So good effort from him. So now can JRAYBAY find half a second to get ahead of Leon and make it a top 10 shootout. Because at the moment it's only a top 9 shootout for the Senna trophy. Pressure is on here for JRAY of F3. Gets a nice smooth exit, heading into the tunnel. Oh, struggling. The back end of the car has to lift off just a little bit. But you know, Poe looked like one of the quickest drivers earlier on, but he wouldn't be taking no further part. Oh, JRAYBAY again on the throttle. The car's just not really responding to him, and this doesn't look particularly quick, I'm afraid. 0.32, I think that's on his previous best, but he's got to be finding more time. He's going to have an absolutely mighty Sector 3 to get out of Q2. One of the last laps of this session then. Here comes JRAYBAY. He's not going to get another run, I don't think. Or will he? He's done it! JRAYBAY has beaten Joru. Can Joru respond? I don't know how this works now, because Leon's retirement kind of confuses things a little bit. So I don't know if Joru... Yeah, well, it looks like Joru has been knocked out here. He's got to try and keep going. He's on a last lap. But how close was that? Only 3 1,000ths of a second between the two, but JRAYBAY still has a chance. No, he cuts the corner, and that is the end of Joru. It's a brave effort from the F7 driver, but just by the smallest of margins gets knocked out. That's bad luck. Heads for the line, but it's going to be no use. And that is effectively your end of Q2. So it's going to be a top 9 shootout. I mean, we don't know if Leon actually crashed. He might have just retired, but I doubt it. He must have crashed somewhere, because it was very early on in Q2. Wow, we got 43 people watching this. That's much more than I expected. But yeah, this has been actually much more exciting than I expected. I mean, the idea of doing an event like this I actually had way back in F1 2016, but of course the spectator mode wasn't quite as good, and full quali was just completely broken on F1 2016. So it has been really good to put this on today. I think we're just waiting for AMS to retire, and yes, here we go. We'll find out soon enough if Giroud does get through, but I think the way the retirements work is if you retire but you have a fast time, it still counts you as you know, the lowest person in the top 10, which seems a bit unfair, but I think that's real quality. So here we go then, your top 10 who will go into Q3. And that's not a bad idea, AMS, actually. That's something we could definitely do in future. So Blizzard, Lambo, Liquorblocks, Chopper and Abiodun, your top 5 in Q2, with Jayarchitects, Sophie, AMS and JRAYBAY with a brilliant lap late on to get into Q3. CSR Leon will unfortunately not continue. TGG Poe, though, well, I'm not sure how he got disqualified, but made a right hash of the chicane and got disqualified. Yeah, completely agree with Grumpy's as well. That is a good idea, and that's something we can definitely look into. Fortunately, I'm not free to do a stream next week, but hey, maybe the next time we have a break. So here we are then. Here at Monaco, our time machine is tingling. 1988 Monaco. Who is going to take the pole position just as Senna did back again? I very much doubt we're going to get a 1.4 second gap. I think if Blizzard manages that, that could put him into Psgl folklore forever. So 12 minutes then. We're going back to the F1 2017 qualifying laps here for Q3. They'll probably get at least... they might get 3 runs in. You never know. It's a very short track here, of course. So, who's your money then on to win the Senna Trophy and get pole position as this very expensive looking group of McLaren MP4s rolls out then for the final time tonight? That's quite a sight, all those MP4s. So I'm just going to see who's actually going to be the first. So Abiodun looks like he got out pretty early. Sophie coming out. Is Chopper ahead of Abiodun? No, Abiodun will be the first to set a time then. So I wonder if Blizzard can push that time down still further. Maybe a mid 1:18.5. But, you know, compared to Q1, Abiodun had quite a sloppy Q2. So he'll be looking for better things out of Q3. He was top in Q1. So if he can find that sort of performance again, he's certainly going to be in the running. Apparently, according to Tony, aka Cliffy, the Psgl F1 Canadian Grand Prix winner, he may as well live in Canada, he's so successful there. Robot Sophie's only had the game for 2 days, so pretty impressive pace from her so far. Here comes Abiodun then, heading into Sandovots, and hits the wall immediately. So let's go see someone else. And I think actually a lap with Blizzard, I think is going to be our port of call. Because unlike 1998, we have onboard pictures to see the best lap if Blizzard can deliver it. Yellow's in Sector 1. Here comes Blizzard then, rolling up the hill to Casino Square. Violent downshift to get the car slowed down, but that was good work. Really working the gearbox. And they're slowing the car down as we head down towards the hairpin. So we get a nice camera view of Blizzard heading out from the end of Sector 1. It looks very smooth so far from Blizzard. Beautiful car control coming out into the tunnel. Now this is strangely one of the hardest parts of the track, because if you get your line wrong and you don't have the right setup, you can easily pitch yourself into the left of the tunnel. Through the chicane then goes Blizzard. Was that a invalidation? I'm not sure. Abiodun heading towards the end of the lap. We're going to stick with Blizzard, who runs about as wide as he dares through the swimming pool section. Then here we are into Rascat, so 1:19.229. So that is Abiodun's fastest time of the day so far. A good 4 tenths quicker than his time in Q1. So here we go then, heading up towards the line. What is Blizzard going to do? Is it going to be into the 18s? It is a 1:18.928 to start off this session. Is he fueled for another lap? Let's have a look at Jayarchitects. Jayarchitects heading for the line now. And what's it going to be? Jayarchitects sets a 1:25. 9:06. That's a poor time for Jay. Must have made a right meal of it. And it's TTG Lambo with a 1:18.879. Just in front of Blizzard by 0.49 of a second. Abiodun 3 tenths further back. Let's have a look at Blizzard then. Blizzard would have seen that purple light up on the timing screens, and now he's got to respond. Just over 7.5 minutes of the session to go. It looks like this qualifying session may be contended between Lambo and Blizzard, although Chopper, don't forget. Oh, and Blizzard, he taps the inside barrier into the chicane, and that has ruined that lap. So for the time being, it's advantage Lambo. Blizzard really lucky not to rip off the rear tyre. So is Lambo going to head back to the pits or carry on? Nickel Block's currently in 4th, heading for the line again. What's this going to be for Nickel? Is this an improvement? No, it's not. Sophie in a very respectable 5th at the moment. AMS in 6th. Chopper in 8th. JRAYBAY in 7th. Jayarchitects, that's clearly not a representative time. And he's back in the pits. So Blizzard pits then. And Lambo carries on. So, advantage Lambo. But Blizzard making his first real major mistake of the session there. He may have been on an in-lap anyway, of course. These drivers only have 4 sets of tyres for the whole session. So I wonder if any of these drivers have saved us a brand new set of tyres. That's the big question. But Lambo Blizzard just have a bit of an advantage. Anyone else? So it looks like AMS, Sophie, so Liquor Blocks on a lap, or is this an in-lap? We shall see. Actually no, this is Jay. I do apologise. No, this is Lickle. Yeah. This is Lickle, unless I'm very much mistaken. And Lickle spins the car around, putting a bit too much throttle down. Surely he'll be returning to the pits after that. He may well have been anyway, in a bit of a rush, clearly. What about Sophie? Back into the pits. Or AMS, rather. So your only driver out on track at the moment is Sophie. And Blizzard and Abiodun coming back out with just over 5 minutes of the session to go of this Psgl Senna trophy here at the Circuit de Monaco, as Psgl pays tribute to one of the greatest qualifying laps in the history of the sport by Ayrton Senna. You can say what you like, Chulo, as long as it's respectful. Sophie then getting the time down, 4/10 quicker, so again another respectable time. Blizzard, Abiodun and Lambo, your top 3 coming out of the pits. With Liquor Blocks and AMS, JRAYBAY, Chopper clearly wanting to wait until the very last second before they come out again. Yeah, to an extent, Chulo. I do agree with you, but I think all the late 80s, early 90s McLaren cars looked awesome. So here comes Lambo on an outlap. Abiodun just behind Blizzard. So these are going to be the 2 drivers to focus on then. Blizzard making that mistake into the chicane. Maybe an in-lap though. I don't see any delay. Grumpy. So Blizzard then heads into sector 1. He's got traffic ahead. It's a McLaren. Not sure what the effect of dirty air is in terms of these classic cars. Nowhere near as much aerodynamic trickery as they have in the 2018 cars today. He might get a nice tow in the tunnel, but that might hurt him. So can Blizzard put the power down? Fantastic camera shot of the tunnel. Lickle gets, I think that's Sophie getting out of the way. Or Lickle, one of the 2. Yes, Lickle, I think. So where's Blizzard? Blizzard, oh, through the swimming pool section. Trying to get the car slowed down, but that tap on the wall would not have helped him. Aaron talking about Saubers, I think, again. What a surprise. So here comes Blizzard. Heading for the line. Can he go faster than Lambo's time? And he does. A 1:18.565 into the mid. 1:18 we go. And here comes Abiodun. Can he respond? No, he cannot. Invalidation. So here comes Lambo. Might be all down to Lambo at this point to decide this. So here we go then. Lambo set the early pace in this session. Got yellows in sector 2. That may be a slow car getting out of the way. Through the tunnel we go then. Blasting out towards the chicane. which is a very tricky braking zone because it's downhill, just as you have to hit the brakes. It's quite hard to judge it sometimes. Lambo then, Lambo has cut it, so it's abandoned the time. Here comes Blizzard. And Blizzard, what on earth was that? Blizzard just flying over the corner. Is Blizzard trying to get back to the pits in time to put another fresh set of tyres on? He's going to be pushing it. Some would say that is unorthodox. Some would say that's even cheating doing that. But may take him more than 2 minutes to get back out. We shall see. So Blizzard desperately trying to get another run in. He's going to be cutting it very fine, but he'll probably be cutting the chicanes to get into the lap. Oh, look how painfully it's going to take. Yeah, bit naughty from Blizzard, to be honest. I think if he were to get pole position because of that, I think there would be some things to say. But hey, I think to be fair, only counts when you do an actual lap time. So Lambo on a lap here, 3/10 away from Blizzard. Lambo's going to have to do a mighty lap, really. As Blizzard's in the pits. Only got just over a minute. It's going to be very difficult indeed for him to get. I think he's going to struggle, to be honest. Do you like the way the cars drift in the tunnel? Jayarchitects has moved up to third. That's very respectable. Abidon on a lap, possibly. Let's just keep an eye on Lambo for the time being. Blizzard still in the pit lane with under a minute to go. I don't think he's going to make it. Oh, whoa, look at that drift there from Lambo. That was fantastic. Rounding the final corner goes Lambo. Can Lambo find any more time? Oh, it goes deep into the final corner. The car is squirming all over the place. What is Lambo doing? Did Lambo get a next lap invalidation? I think Lambo's abandoned. Lickle Blocks has moved up to third. Blizzard's not going to run again. So actually, Lickle Blocks has moved up to third. Can Lickle Blocks, of all people, who's been sort of under the radar on this whole qualifying session this evening, didn't go particularly quick in Q1 or Q2, but he's now potentially has a shot at pole position. AMS retires from the session in 6th place. Just going to see where is Sophie. Sophie seems to be slowing down. JRAYBAY and Chopper still going. So actually it seems like Lickle Blocks is your main focus. Through the tunnel he goes. Can he get the car slowed down and not cut the chicane to give himself a shot at pole position? Oh, that was close. Nearly all 4 wheels, but I think he might have gotten away with it. Here comes Lickle Blocks heading into the swim pool section. If he takes pole position here, I think everybody watching is going to erupt with applause. Hits the wall though. Trying to get it slowed down for Raskas. Looks a bit scrappy in Sector 3. Can he find enough time to take pole position? Here comes Lickle Blocks heading for the line. And what is it going to be? It's a free. He improves, but hasn't improved enough. So SFR Chopper is your last driver out track, and it looks like Blizzard is going to be your Senna Trophy winner. And he is. He's in the pit lane, but he has done it. The end of Q3, and Blizzard has taken the Senna Trophy with 118.565, which is miles faster than the real time, but that just shows you how the video game doesn't quite balance this car. But what a tremendous effort by everybody who got into Q3. Let's just see what their overall times were. So 4 drivers getting into the 19s in Q3. But yeah, great effort from Jayarchitects and AMS. Sophie in 7th out of 20 tonight. You know, Lambo really pushed Blizzard hard. But Blizzard in the end setting that great lap to take it. Well, I have to say that was a thoroughly enjoyable qualifying session, which will end our coverage of the Psgl Senna Trophy, and I really hope you have enjoyed it this evening. And well, Blizzard, well deserved. Hopefully he recorded his lap so we can see how he did it. The 118.565. And yes, indeed, Grumpy, you can leave. We are done here at Monaco, but thanks to everybody who watched the stream tonight. A really enjoyable event, and hopefully I and maybe other streamers will bring you some classic events during the break. So once again, thanks for watching and see you next time.